Hey Sugar Geeks, Liz here. Today I'm going to show you how to make an amazing brown butter cake with vanilla bean buttercream. Yes, coming up next on Sugar Geek Show. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is combine our liquids. So I have my buttermilk here. I'm going to measure out 1/2 cup that's been warmed in the microwave so it's not cold. And to that we're going to add our oil. Very important for keeping the cake nice and moist. And then I'm going to set this aside. And then to our remaining liquids, I'm gonna add our eggs. 3 eggs that have been sitting in warm water to bring them to room temperature. And then I'm gonna add my vanilla. And just give that a whisk to just break up the egg yolks. So this is our buttermilk oil mixture, and this is our buttermilk egg mixture. Sounds confusing, but it actually makes it easier. Okay, so we're using brown butter, of course. It's a brown butter cake, and if you need to know how to make brown butter, you can check out my recipe on sugargeekshow.com. But this is what's gonna give our cake its amazing, toasty, nutty brown butter flavor, and it's so, so good. After you make your brown butter, make sure you let it come to room temperature so it's like the consistency of softened butter and not melted. If you need to speed that process up, you can pop it in the fridge for just a little bit, but make sure you don't make it real hard again. Okay, so now we're gonna add the dry ingredients, flour, white sugar, a little bit of brown sugar, and I've sifted my brown sugar so it doesn't have any hard lumps or anything in it. Sometimes that happens. Baking powder, baking soda, and then salt. And we're just gonna give that a little mix. Don't forget your lid if you're using the Bosch like I am. And then I'm gonna just start adding in my brown butter to coat the flour and make basically short crust. So you're coating all the gluten with the brown butter, so that's gonna give that really velvety, delicious texture that we love. Okay, so now we're going to take, I almost used the wrong one. Now I'm gonna take my buttermilk and oil mixture and put that all in there, and we're gonna mix for 2 full minutes. Okay, so it should look nice and thick and fluffy when it's done mixing. If it looks curdled or broken, then one of your ingredients might have been too cold, and that's a problem because you can't really save it. So it's really important to bring all of your ingredients to room temperature or a little bit warm, otherwise you could ruin your batter. Now we're gonna add our remaining liquids in 3 parts. You don't wanna just dump it all in there, but just a little bit at a time, like you would add eggs, so it just has time to incorporate. And once that's incorporated, it's done. Look at those beautiful specks of flavor. I'm dividing my cake batter evenly between 3 6-inch cake pans, but you could use 2 8 inches if you prefer. And then I like to weigh each pan to make sure that I have the same amount of batter in each one. It's about 15 ounces per pan. And bake at 335 degrees for 30-35 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. All right, so to make my buttercream, I just have a batch of my easy buttercream made, and I'm gonna add in about a tablespoon of vanilla bean paste or 1 vanilla bean pod, depending on what you have access to. I found this vanilla bean paste on sale, so that's what I'm using. And it puts all these beautiful little black spots in the buttercream. It makes it so good. I'm not excited at all. All right, so now I'm gonna start stacking my cake. Just a little bit of buttercream, either on your cake board or your plate. In my case, I'm using a plate because I'm a blogger and it has to look beautiful. Also, you might just be a hobby baker. You don't need a fancy board. So the first thing I'm gonna do is try and get a nice even layer of buttercream. We go for 1/2 inch around here because we like our buttercream. And I'm not torting my cakes, which means slicing them halfway. So you want more buttercream rather than less. Sometimes I see these videos where they just have literally a little sliver of buttercream. It hurts my soul. If you need more information on how to frost and fill a cake, for super beginners, how to tort and chill and all that stuff, you can check out my video on how to make your first cake on sugargeekshow.com. I love how you can see all the little vanilla bean speckles in there. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly give this a crumb coat and then stick it into the freezer or the fridge for about 20 minutes, just so that it firms up enough that we can put our final layer of buttercream on. Okay, and now we chill. So our cake is chilled. I did take it off of my plate and put it on a cake board because I wanna use a fancy cake comb for my final layer. Now I'm gonna put my second layer of buttercream on my cake, nice and thick. I'm just gonna smooth the sides just to make sure they're straight up and down. So I can see my lower cake is a little bit less thick than the top part. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want it to be sort of even. Okay, so once it's fairly straight up and down, and you have your top leveled off, we're gonna take my fancy cake comb from Esther Cakes. I've used these cake combs before to put stripes in my cakes. If you check out my other tutorials, like my geometric cake tutorial on sugargeekshow.com, you can see us doing the black and white stripes. But this one is literally just to make some really nice decorative indentations in the buttercream, and it's gonna look super pretty and it's gonna be super easy. So we're gonna hold it at about a 45-degree angle and just slowly start removing some of our buttercream. And every time you make one full rotation, you want to scrape off the excess buttercream and come back. Otherwise it just builds up too much on the texture comb. I'm a little bit too thin on one of my sides, so if that happens to you, just add more buttercream on and then scrape it off. What's funny is this is actually a really old school technique for frosting your cakes, and it's just like been coming back lately. These texture combs. Everything that's old is new again. So if you've been frosting cakes for more than 10 years like I have, you probably remember this. I'm just barely holding the texture comb up against the cake. And the idea is to go a little bit at a time. So sometimes I watch these cake decorating videos and it's like messy, and then all of a sudden it's perfect. And you're like, wow, that was really fast. I'm gonna be truthful with you. This took me 4 tries. To give you an accurate representation of how many times it took me to get this perfect. So you're not just like, why is this not working? It took a couple passes, okay? All right, so now I have my leftover buttercream in a Russian piping tip bag. This is the rose one. So the secret to Russian piping tips is you wanna make sure you squeeze to adhere to the buttercream, stop squeezing, and then pull away. Well, a lot of people use really stiff buttercream for this, but you can definitely use Swiss meringue buttercream. You don't have to use, a stiffer buttercream. If your buttercream is too soft, then all of your roses will kind of run together. So that's kind of the only thing to really look out for. And then I'm going to use my 68 leaf piping tip to just kind of finish the edges. So it's not just kind of like this raggedy looking rose edge. It's like a white on white design, but I just love all those little speckles that you can see from the vanilla buttercream. Very, very sophisticated, no? I feel like you could put some like toasted pecans or some cranberries or something like that in the middle pretty easily and make this into like a holiday cake. We could do like a wreath on top. That would be really pretty. Look how cute. Like seriously, that took us what, 5 minutes? Awesome sauce. Okay, stop, walk away. Time for the forking. This cake definitely screams, I love fall. And I do love fall. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.